What's up, everybody? Midjourney Fast Hours podcast. We're back. Man, we're back. We're back with a vengeance. And we're doing things a little bit differently this week. We're recording on a Sunday, which is interesting.
Sunday.
But it feels important, right, Rory? Because after all this silence, we finally have some things happening.
A lot
right?
of things happening.
Yeah.
Too many things happening.
There's some big things happening.
It's like image generation was dormant for 6 months and like nothing happened. And now it's all happening all at once. And it's out of control.
We were doing a lot of traveling. So, you and I traveling back to back, it was bound to happen. And, maybe before we get real deep into that, you and I got a chance to meet up again in New York, second time last week, which was a lot of fun. Drinks
which is
were
wild
had.
that it's only happened twice somehow at this point. But still, we did it in person.
Always good to see you, brother. Always good to see you.
Yeah, it was good. If everyone is interested in the charades that Drew and I went on, we went out to get some Italian food. We ate a lot. I was full. We drank a bunch of beer. We had a good time. We went to the East Village. It was what else are you gonna do when you're in New York? There's other places to go, but these.
Dude, I loved it. I that was a perfect little weekday night for me. That was stellar, man. The food was great. The drinks were good. The vibe was good at the spot. Nice little spot that you picked out there. And, of course, we were talking about, life in general, but also, like, the shenanigans that are taking place here. So, as we record this, right, this is Sunday, March 30th, that we're recording this podcast. Midjourney V7, apparently, is dropping tomorrow. Still the plan, apparently. And then you've also got the whole shenanigans that have just taken place with ChatGPT and Dall-E. Is it still Dall-E? I don't know. Like
I don't think so.
It's not even called. Yeah. So
they just scrapped that.
It's just OpenAI, kind of like, and I figured there would be something. I just didn't know how serious it would be, but it does make sense, right? Like just all the linguistic back and forth that you can do with the tool. Like it kind of felt like there should be a next evolution of what they've got taking place there. And man, it's juicy stuff.
It was like, how did they? I remember when Sora was being touted and they were like spewing it everywhere, and it was like, oh, it's gonna be the best image video generator ever. I'm like, why don't you just update Dall-E? Like it's not great. And then they just come out. They just like come out of nowhere. I remember. If anyone has been listening to us for a while, little Mindo drop from back in a couple guests ago. He was texting me on the side saying he was testing something big. I was like, "What do you got up your sleeve?" And he goes, "I can't tell you yet. Just know."
Oh,
it's
really?
Good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he was doing some stuff in there.
He was doing some stuff.
Interesting.
Like, ask me some prompts. He's like, tell me some prompts that you've had a lot of trouble with. And there's like a few randomly that pop up in my head that I've never been able to get on other generators. There was one dude, I'll never forget this one. He asked, because it seems so simple. He's like, can you help me generate a goldfish swimming upside down? I'm like, yeah, man, that should be like really easy. It was like impossible on any single one.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
You know what mine was? The one that I always go back to is I was doing a one-on-one training one time, and some guy was just like, let me give you something I've never been able to get. I was like, shoot, what is it? He's like, it's a tree branch getting caught on a sweater of like a girl, in the woods, and like the tree branch like snagging her sweater. And I was like,
really?
I was like, okay, this would be easy.
Yeah.
Tried everything, like every little tool in the book. I probably spent like most of the call just doing that, and got to the point where it was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just grab like an image reference, try an image reference and blah, blah, blah. There wasn't even an image that had that out there on the web. So I was like, oh, okay. So like maybe there's just no, training data on this, right? Like, I mean, but at the same time, like when you go back into the history of, AI image generation, it was all about the ability to generate things that didn't exist, right, in the real world without the training data. Because I think the first thing was like a green school bus back in the days. It was like one of those things that shouldn't have been possible, but it was. Uh-huh. But yeah, the old tree and the sweater.
Who would have thought
deal.
that one?
Yeah,
Because I remember sending it. There There was two ones that I remember specifically. That one, the goldfish, and then another one was instead of it was like someone's telling me, "Can you on a skateboarding image I did, can you get a skateboard riding a human being instead?" And I was like, maybe. Yeah, it's a very random idea, but let's give it a shot. No beans on any of them, and then and send it to him, and he was
It's wild,
pretty close.
Some of those are wild that you can't get. I mean, I haven't gone back and tried that snag in the tree, so maybe it's possible now.
Probably,
but
has to be.
Yeah.
There's no way that hasn't been generated yet.
I know, man. Well, hey, when we met in New York, right? Like, I was doing some traveling. You were doing some traveling. When did you get wind of, what's happening with ChatGPT? Because I know you were traveling internationally. How did you get that news?
I think it was before I went on stage, and I was kind of just looking at it, and I was like, someone was sending me some of the stuff they were doing. I forget who it was, and I was like, well, that's goddamn wild, because it was all text, and that was the biggest surprise, was how I was nailing the text, and I was like, that's a lot of text, not just a little bit of text. That's like a whole page worth of writing of text, and I'm like, that's seriously impressive, because that's nothing close to anything at the moment, right? Like everything can do just enough text.
Yeah.
Not like
right.
It couldn't write you like a full page worth of text, and this one was doing it with a snap of a finger. So that to me was interesting, and I was really just kind of like, well, I got to go do this now, but I had to get on stage. So that's a whole other story. We can wait for the end if we want to drop that one. I got some good I have some tidbits from Belgium, but also some just some chaos, a little bit, of course, because nothing goes off without a hitch during these things. But it was
just what you need right before you're about to go on stage. So
just, amongst like 10 other things. I mean, it was that. It was also Reve dropping, which was another interesting one. I don't know if you got a chance to play with that one or see it, but everyone you get to open up X, and it's like the Midjourney killer, the whatever killer, the bye Photoshop, all right, guys, it's good. It's not like the second coming of Jesus here. It's just a tool, right?
and like capabilities are one thing. You still got to get the adoption of the users as the second part of that equation. I mean, just because something could even be better, you still got to bring everybody over. So it's interesting, man. Of course, like it was a little bit of a shock. And I think for me, I can't remember. I mean, I guess it was just like a random scroll on Twitter for me, but it did have that feeling, right? Like that feeling I've gotten maybe a couple of times on one hand since the AI kind of thing is rolled out with Gen AI tools, and it was one of those. It was just kind of like, a couple things here never possible before. And obviously, like we can talk through, what is possible, what are the good use cases for this, what are maybe the use cases, that aren't so great right now. But like the technology, the capability, I mean, again, this feels like another milestone moment in this whole sort of AI creative journey that we're on, right? Like a major moment.
This was it. This was the one here's the thing. Like it was like subconscious last week or 2 weeks ago. I was generating a bunch of stuff that was like magazine covers and magazine pages and doing it. And I was like, I don't know why I like the way this looks with text. I've like never tried to generate anything with text or writing on it before in a while. And for some reason I was just drawn to it. And then this week it's like everything is that. And it's like, I didn't even know I wanted text. And now it's like, do I really want text that much? There's a good thing and bad thing about having the community-led stuff with Midjourney. Number one, it's epic, and it's the differentiator, right? Like that we get to say what we want. But there's sometimes we don't know what we want. And like personally, I never thought I'd want text, and now I'm like, well, now that I have it, I kind of like it. It's one of those things. But it felt like a pretty big watershed. This was the first time I've felt that way, especially because if you look at the overarching landscape of like the sort of like the social media, like where like the tide turns on certain things, like it's only been video for 6 months. Like
It's
no
true.
one's been talking about anything else.
Yeah,
and now
that's a
it's
great
like
point.
all images, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
So it had to be powerful to shift the entire like social attention span.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Like there are, again, there are some like we were just texting on this, but like there are some things you can do right now. Like if you're a marketer or you're, a designer on a team or creative on a team, like that have instant use case out of the box, kind of ready to go things. And I'm like, I think about it from the marketing perspective of, okay, like if you're a marketing team, now you have the ability to execute creatively, to create things that you never had the ability to create before. And you don't have to be a Midjourney expert. I mean, there are still things that Midjourney does. And again, there's some overlap there. But, right, the big thing with Midjourney is just like there's a huge learning barrier, that exists there. Where this ChatGPT thing, it's pretty wild how sort of like that barrier to entry has lowered. Now you still kind of need to know how to communicate in that style anyway, but nonetheless, like there are definitely some plays to be had here, especially if like you're moving early on this and you're trying to grab attention. It's not just like the oh, look at this is cool kind of thing, which is definitely there, but how can you put this into a business use case? Like that's untapped at this point, right? So it's a great time to really kind of step back and think about how you want to leverage that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was looking at it in a few different ways, and I started to generate some stuff. And the thing is, like, it's not a fix all. Like, it's great that you can talk to it. The best part is, number one, it's so everyone knows you can utilize it in Sora, and it feels like it just any other normal image generator, or you can use it in a chat window and like talk to it intuitively. Which I like the option of having both. But number one, the intuitive side of it is really nice because it can take sort of direction on what's already been generated. So, I can say, I like this image, like cut the saturation on it, give it a little bit more contrast, add some texture, right? Like, and it'll do that. But the thing is, you have to know what you're asking for. Still, as always, when we're coming down to prompting and we're talking about it, if you don't know what you're looking for or how to get there or how to describe it, you can't just say like, make this image better.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like make this more eye-catching. It's like, all right, that's not going to fly. Like, you need to have some technical terminology.
That's a perfect example, right? Because you still need to have this creative mindset behind it. You need to have that vision. And I think also the constraint right now with you can only create one image at a time. It takes longer than you'd like. Mm-hmm. And then now you've got the rate limit, which I was playing a bunch with it yesterday. And I just kept running this rate limit over and over and over and over again. And it's like, the ability to learn how to use this tool then slows down because you only can do it one image at a time, right? And that part of it sucks. And I know they're trying to figure that part out. But, until that also gets corrected, there's only so much velocity that can take place with this outside of just, I guess, curating what other people are doing and saying, oh, okay, let me try that in my own use case or own sense, right? Like action figure or YouTube thumbnail or whatever, right? But again, if you don't have that guidance or curation from somebody else in that standpoint, like it's just going to take you a long time to try things on your own.
There's still a language of prompting. I mean, I don't care how whether you chat with it, whether you have to insert it via drop down buttons, whether you have to type it out yourself. Like you still have to know like how to describe art or how to describe a visual, because without it, it is just what it is. You need to know what to say. And like we put in the grunt work on that, where I feel like it's still the best baseline skill set. And this is a weird thought here. Like I'm seeing Midjourney and these other tools like branching. Like to me they were always sort of intertwined at one point, and now I feel like they're branching in two different directions, and it's not a bad thing. Like I think Midjourney is going in like this creative, like artistic sort of outlet direction. Yeah. And I see like ChatGPT and some of these others going more like the professional business route. Yeah. Right. Because, like we live in a bubble. We're on LinkedIn. We're on X, and most of that stuff is focused around business, but there's a ton of other people that are using these tools for other things, right? Like not just business. So, like, I'm still seeing, if anyone is worried that Drew and I, this is like a somber episode, and it's like we're not using Midjourney anymore. That's not the case. I find it even more. The more these tools progress, I'm sure they all will. The more like you realize the little things that you can do with something like Midjourney that like I just wish I had in other tools. Like just the parameters alone, just that. Not even the very subtle, very strong, the remixing, the style reference, the image prompting, the editing and the in painting, like all of that. Those little like things that we went over in the micro decisions episode and every other episode that we talked about. You realize how much like it makes a difference when you're trying to get somewhere versus just like let me type it out and hope that ChatGPT gets it, and then you wait, and then it'll totally type it out and then wait. You can't iterate fast on something there. And look, it's gonna develop, and I personally really like the tool right now, ChatGPT. Like I'm in. Like I'm not. There hasn't been one that outside of this one that I've been like I'm in. Like now I'll go full bore. Like I've tested the ideograms, I've tested the flux, I've tested all these other things. Gemini is frames. Frames is great.
Image gen,
love it. I don't want to. The thing is, like, I don't want to text. I don't want to prompt paragraphs anymore. Like, I think that's where it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's the thing. And I don't think that's the long term. It's not going to be that way long term anyway, right? Like that was the beginning, and that was kind of the cool thing too, in a sense of the early stages of Midjourney, because it was so token based in some ways, right? It was just like you could tokenize something to then create this category that it would fit within, versus like being this prompt whiz of knowing exactly how to describe those things, right? And like obviously you can utilize both, but yeah, I agree. Like the long term approach to this, it's not typing out paragraphs, right? Like it could be talking out paragraphs, but it's a different muscle and a different skill entirely, right? It's just like the difference between you typing something into ChatGPT versus using the audio function.
Yeah,
like those are two totally different prompts that'll come out of my mouth in those sets, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to build those up. So yeah, I think like the long-term solution lies in less effort, which then leads me to either something like voice or easy click buttons, or the variable like references that we have that Midjourney gives us, for example, like those shortcuts with style, image reference, right, character reference, like those types of things.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that's probably the biggest to me, and like we got this with Gemini 2 weeks ago, and it's just like LoRa's have become somewhat like, do you not need them anymore? I mean, yes, you don't get me wrong, you do need LoRa's for what some of the projects you're trying to do, but for simple things like turn this person from a front view to a side view, like you don't need that. You don't need to do that anymore, or like, or just change, or like use this person and put them somewhere else, or use this object and put it in X amount of locations, or in X environment doing X thing. That just seemed to happen overnight with like 3 tools, and it was like, how, what?
Yeah.
Why was this the hardest thing to do in AI, and now it seems seemingly you just say put this here and it goes there. Like it was like, I feel bad for. I don't feel bad, but I feel like there's like people that put in so much effort on things like that, and it's now it's just like I spent all this time training.
That's blowing my mind right now. And I would love for you, while I'm doing this, to also pull your screen up and just kind of. I know you've got some examples here. But this was one, I think this was the first one I saw where I was like, oh, somebody literally just put text to describe what they want in certain areas.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what does this say? Add soot to the left side of the face, right? Some stuff like that. It's probably going to be very hard for you guys to see what's actually written here. But these are all descriptors of what they want the final image to be, right? And there's the soot on the side of the face. It's just like, yo. Like that was a mind blower for me, because it's like, yeah, never been able to do that before, and I still, and then, even getting into, let me see if I have any like worse examples. Cause I actually saw an example Like here's a
That was a
more
good one.
visible one, right?
like that one a
you
lot.
can see the text, what he's got a little bit better in this one. But then you get into I saw somebody that had just had the like an actual sketch pen, you know, waves in the back, and it's like mountains. Like they wrote everything just like hand pen to paper, and it picked it up perfectly. And I was like, she, like that was like one of those things where it's like, yeah, that's pretty damn cool. You know what I mean?
So that's impressive, right? Like, to me, that's impressive. Some of the stuff it's been able to do,
The thumbnail
I've been blown
stuff's
away with.
pretty crazy, right? Like swap the face in. Now, I don't, I need to try something like this because I think I tried it. I don't know if it was this exactly, but they are putting some more restrictions in place. And I'm wondering if that's actually what's going on with this rate limit. I think they're also trying to like really figure some stuff out, right? Because you had like that Studio Ghibli kickback, some of these brands, like there was a crazy example I had in here. Did I show you this? If not, I meant to. There's like somebody created.
Yeah, that one was genius.
Somebody created like,
So good.
like scam stuff, and I'm just like, oh, this has the potential to really just get ugly quick. Because, like people like us in there listening to this podcast probably aren't thinking of it in this way. But like to create a Sephora card with the scratched out pen or something, and to say something doesn't work or, to get a new card or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, there's got to be some measures in place here. And I guess where I was going with that thumbnail image is I was trying to do something last night with like even Illinois basketball. I was like, oh, let me like see if I can mock up like, like a hoodie with Illinois basketball stuff on it. Let me use like the Chief logo, which they no longer can use.
Uh-huh.
Sure enough, couldn't create it. Couldn't put like, I had to like wizardly work around it, right? With what I put in, but it would not let me use like that Chief image as like a reference, for that. I had to really just kind of like do a loop around. And so I wonder if there's like they're starting to put some of these kind of like restrictions in place here and like monitor this a little bit more closely.
Speaking of the Studio Ghibli stuff, can we talk about like the best outcome scenario for that dude ever? Oh, he says he like AI is trash, and then everyone seemingly trolls him all over the internet by making things with in his style, and now everyone who had no idea who he is knows exactly who he is.
Right?
It's like,
yeah, there's an upside to it.
I mean, like it's like I didn't know the name of the studio, and of course now I know it. It's like the most popular thing in the zeitgeist in social media. Like, is there more impressions right now on anything other than on the internet than Studio Ghibli? Like, this is the best PR campaign he could have ever hoped for from this. Like, I mean, it's the whole feed. You go anywhere, that's all it is. It's crazy.
The whole thing. Like memes, famous stills. I mean, everything.
Everything. The Lord of the Rings one was epic. There it is.
I was going to say, PJ, right?
Yeah. That was awesome.
Me too. And, this definitely took a lot of time. I mean,
yeah.
Put the whole trailer in Studio Ghibli, And I mean, like, this is one of those things where it's like, you also got to put it in perspective. PJ's not getting anything out of this other than like sharing what's possible and some attention his way, right? So, I mean, like that's a pretty big time commitment. And some of these things don't actually have use case other than just like being cool. And that's okay,
yes. Social.
Right? So like we also need to draw a line in the sand, with Studio Ghibli, for example. It's like, well, yeah, you could be mad about it, but what actually could anybody do with this meaningfully? And I think that's where I like kind of run into a wall and I'm like, well, at the end of the day, it's just kind of like this cool thing that you can do. And so, yeah, like there's the conversation of like, oh, now this is possible, like, are we all in trouble? Blah, blah, blah. Is this going to ruin art? So forth. But it's like, it's almost just like, hey, look, like I could do this, but like,
who's going to use it?
You can't, you know what I mean?
You can't make
like,
a film with it. It's IP. So it's just like, it's fun.
It's fun. You're not going to, and you can't make money off of it, right?
No.
It's like, so what's the big deal? You know what I mean? In that sense, right?
Yeah.
But
I totally get it because I was again when I saw that one, I was like, this is just being a hold up. Considering I'm a giant Lord of the Rings fan with my Sauron shirt on right now. Right now. I was like, look, I love those movies. I love the books. I love everything about it. And I was like, this is sick. that was good. I saw that one. It was one of my favorites.
I hadn't seen that one. That's great.
There's so many good ones, man. Like it's that I saw that one too. The one with the cat. Oh God, and the screaming housewives. There's so many good memes that they've done, but it's just like everyone found one. Yeah, all of them.
Yeah,
all of them. But dude, there was like I was like jonesing right because I was away, and I was so busy, like just running around Belgium.
Yeah, you're just waiting to get a moment to yourself.
Yeah, and I got home last night after 8-hour flight, probably 12-hour trip home. Sat down at like 6 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta go do this. I can't wait anymore. Like I gotta know what's going on here because I can't be this far behind. Because logistically, a ton of things that I just talked about at this conference are like
changed.
No,
I was just thinking about that. I was like, hey, if you had a team training tomorrow, it's like. I think I'd have to like rethink the whole thing now.
Yeah, and I did. Good thing I said it in my talks. I said it in everything I got to. I get to like the end, and I'd say, what's awesome is that we built all this stuff. What's not awesome is that one tool makes this all irrelevant tomorrow. And then it was like bang right on cue, and I was like, but the point of it is though is when these tools do come around, if you do have the baseline skill set and the knowledge and the workflow sort of capabilities and know what to do. Becomes so much easier to pick this stuff up.
Oh, look at you, sir! Coming up on the second in the feed here.
Where am I?
Top for ChatGPT 4.0 image.
Look at that. Yeah, that thing's going right.
Well,
now.
hey, so why don't we talk about this for a second?
Let me pull it up big screen so we can see it, so we can actually see it.
Okay, do your thing.
Let's do because it's like basically if we're walking through it, right? Like the idea here is let me pull my screen up. Share screen.
One problem though.
What?
His hat. It's got a curve on it, bro.
Oh, I can only do so much. So, can you see this?
Yeah. Let me make sure. Did you take over for mine?
I think so.
Here, let me make sure I'm not sharing real quick. Nope. Okay, you're good.
All right. So the idea here, what I was doing was like, wait. I've had like ad templates before, email marketing, templates before that I've sort of used to either one like brief designers or one give people some inspiration on what I'm thinking in terms of what a layout could look like. So I was like, hold up, let me design this in Figma. Like I just want to, make this gray square. Headline, sub-headline, let's do like 4 images across the top of like a product image, but like layer those in. And then on the bottom, like feature icon and a description, feature icon description, and make the hero image here. So I fed this whole thing to ChatGPT and then said, basically I'm giving you these 4 hat images, right? I'm going to give you these 4 hat images. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't have a hero image. I was like, basically generate the feature icons. And it used the template like perfectly. So I gave it the hats. I gave it like the product description. So I briefed it like a designer. So I gave it basically.
But I like that you gave this a wireframe structure.
Yeah.
Versus just typing that out.
Uh-huh.
Because also I don't know how this works exactly, but so far in my experience. Much, much better when you can provide some sort of image reference versus texting exactly what you want, even if you've done it like extremely well.
Yep.
Even if you've been super clear for whatever reason, that reference image works 10x better. And so I love that. When you posted this too, I don't know that I really connected the dots though, actually on this the wireframe to the image thing, but that super, super smart. Love that it picked that up. That's
because then it's a template. Because then I use it for this one. It's the same thing, right? Like it's like, oh, okay, now I can do this for a ton of different things, right? It's like now I just have to know that I can wireframe my whatever I want to create in there, and it'll do it.
Where did you
'Cause
create the image at?
the image came with the prompt. Well, I said basically make a hero image of a guy in the water, face half out of the water.
Okay, so the image was done in ChatGPT.
Yeah. So here's the problems with it though, right? Like when it came out, this is what it came out looking like. Nope, this one. Right? So
Yeah.
still some
Yep.
of the small logos. This hat was totally fine. This nailed it. This one I didn't like the icon, right? So I went into Photoshop here, wherever. I don't know if I have the whole workflow lined out here. I just erased the hats, and then I took these hats, removed the background, and dropped them in. Like it
Yep.
took me 5 seconds to do that, and I was like, I'd rather take it 90% and get something that looks like this. Like me just playing with this layout in my head. People think this is probably like that would take you 5 minutes to do it the regular way. I'm like, not really. Like, I would have to come up with this layout in my head, test it a bunch of times. Like, if I can do it like this in squares, so I know where everything should fit. This sounds so stupid, but it's like
I think you got something
works
there
better
with the,
this way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I like that you got it
Because I would
like
play
a
with this.
wireframe structure.
I would play with the size of this text a million times. I would play with the spacing here a million times. I'd play with the size of the icons, the size of the the text down here.
And that's why it's a tool
Yeah.
in the process and not, for the most part, right? Like I think there are use cases actually, right? Like where you can get a certain outcome and it's like, oh, I could use that right away.
Yeah.
This one's got too many variables, right?
That's why.
Like you're thinking about font, you're thinking about spacing, like you're thinking about the kerning, the lead, the size, the format, like even with that icon, right? Like there's just so many little micro moments and little fixes in there that just aren't conducive to what's possible at the moment, right? And that's where it's just like, okay, let's compartmentalize how this would actually be in my tool belt, so to speak, right? Like,
Totally.
And that's why it's important to really like play enough with this to really understand, okay, this is where it's like, I could one shot this or I could two shot this and it's like pretty much done. Or this part, right, which can really be a great amplifier to the process to speed up velo anyway.
Yeah.
Just
And then the other thing too is like being able to understand like I want the focal point here and how to like stack things, because I typically just the way that I like when I'm doing any sort of like ad creative email, things like that, I like there to be a V right to the focal point. So it's like if you're reading from top to bottom, it's like your eyes sort of cascade downwards towards whatever it is. So like this pops, and I describe that in the prompt. Let me see if I actually have the idea of the prompt here. You can see all my crazy tabs.
we need better organization in these LLMs, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm constantly like I've got one where I just ask random questions. Because
I like that.
I don't want to create a new chat every time, right? Like, so like it's just so hard to find things. I mean, even with the search, like you can keyword search within ChatGPT, and it'll give you options on like, oh, you mentioned this in these threads. But then when you click on it, it doesn't actually take you to the exact spot. It just takes you to
never
threads. Like I still got to find this. Like Control F, like scroll. So it's man, just a personal rant. But yeah,
I hear you on that. But here's a good example of like me telling it what to do, and it gave me this image which has to me like the stereotypical AI look, like the saturated skin. It's way too clean in the background. There's not enough like detail, right? Like there's something about it that just screams AI to me. Like even the ripples in the water, not great. So what I said was this is where it got me when I said excellent start. Let's emphasize on bringing more realistic texture and realism to the lifestyle image. Let's use contrast in the environment, making the sky overcast and it less saturated, right? And then bang, like that now, because I knew what I was trying to get, right? Like I wanted the human facial textures, like I got that. I got the overcast, which made everything else pop. It made the white pop better. It made like the water darker, which made all the whites pop. And then, some people are probably like, this is the most average ad creative I've ever seen. But I'm like, for me to just describe that and to do it really quick like that, give it more contrast so that we also have like, this darker line of the beard and the hat. So everything is sort of like pointing towards the middle, which is the picture, which is what I like, the melon hat, right now. That's what was crazy. Is I was like, okay, that's insane. And then I was trying to see if it could in paint, which it can, right? So I highlighted. I said like, let's add this logo. Now it did it. It got it a little better on these, but it screwed up this one, right? So I was like, all right, that's not going to play.
And then
It's not
it'll
that
change
good.
the image even outside
Yeah.
of the in paint too, which kind of drives me nuts.
It is kind of annoying because then I was like, all right, give me the exact prompt for this, which I think is a good tactic for everyone to get used to here. When it comes out with something awesome and you like it, ask it to give you the exact prompt so you can just like sort of take that and replicate it. Because that's again, these are like the interesting things you can play with, right? As in like,
Well, let's go back to that. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
So you've got something you like. What you just asking? Hey, look, what did you like? Organize my prompt based on what you said, or what?
said, let's say we wanted to create ads off this template. What could you create a visual template I could use to create a prompt GP to use to prompt? I was probably like half asleep when I wrote this last night. I can't even read my own writing. Basically, just
got
give me
it.
a prompt template.
Yeah, if
And
I
it
wanted
was
to if I wanted to recreate this, what would you recommend
Yeah.
that I type in?
Yeah, because this
Yeah.
one was epic. The other one with the mood boards, which I don't know if I showed you this one. Yeah, I'm sure you did. But I was using.
Yeah, you showed me this one.
So here's the other thing: was I was using this to create mood boards, right? Like I kind of came up with a random one, or gave it a structure of one that I liked from something that I created previously, and was like, let's go down this rabbit hole. But I started prompting it, and then like I got to here, and I was like, oh, I don't like this sock, and I don't like that these two guys are like essentially the same.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
So like for in painting, I tried just telling it, get rid of this guy and these socks. And it didn't really work. Really, it kind of just like screwed it all up and like, kept things where I wanted it to, but not really. Then when I highlighted it, I just took it into Figma, highlighted it in red, and said just remove those things. Then it worked much better. So
See, that's where it's like
yeah,
learning from others at this point is super powerful because, again, going back to the point, you can only create one image at a time, and we've got this rate limit. So you need to compound the learning. How can you learn fast, right? So you've got your own exploration. You also got the exploration of others. That's a great point. Like, so for example, I would have like maybe I would have never run into that or would have run into that months from now. I wouldn't have known. Right. So that's why this stuff is helpful. Like you have to, I think, really be in the weeds with other people because you're learning from the extension of everybody else's trial and error at this point.
so true because I've been seeing people do things and I'm like, oh, I can apply like that. When I saw the sort of like sketch drawing on the thumbnail, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
let me go see if I can like create an ad template. Like, can I actually like label the template and put it in a way that's structured so I can just read it and paste, basically, or read it and generate? Because that's huge. And then I loved when it actually produced what I wanted. Awesome. Can you give me the exact prompt for this image if I wanted to recreate it? Including the color code. So this is another unlock, everyone here. It works with hex codes. So
Love that.
gave me the prompt, and then I like how it broke out surrounding images include, and it gave me a description of every other image, very, very short. But then, like I took that into Midjourney, and it looked good. And then I took that into, I turned that into Reve. Let's see if I have it here. Took it into Reve, and it produced really well. Like, real decent. I was digging that it actually added the hex colors into here. And I was like, all right, sick. Like, so it can be translated, right, from even ChatGPT now to the other ones, right? So I was like, okay, there's something sort of inherent here that's going on, and it's very intuitive, and I'm kind of obsessed with what I can do. Like, these were just hilarious. I was just having fun with these. Like, this prompt. I think shout out to Retro and Patrick Mulady over there for putting this one up and sending me this prompt because I was having fun with it. It was just write an unhinged, and then I added this conspiracy manifesto on your real thoughts on what's going on in Antarctica in fountain pen blue ink. On what does it say? on it with corrections and marker pen. They are unhinged. There are doodles and weird oddities. Crawled, you cut out and stick lots of photo extracts in magazine to show the point, connecting dots like a detective suspect.
Yeah.
So make it shocking, crazy, and hysterical, right? And then it's just like, it's so random.
Love it.
It's so funny. Where does it say? Oh, wake up, sheeple. Just like threw that one in there.
That's
Like,
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, I did like 5 of these in a row. I'm like, let's just do it with aliens. Let's do it with the
Oh
reptilians.
yeah, baby.
Bigfoot.
Aliens.
Bigfoot. I think I got down to
Dude, we
the
were
pyramids.
together. We were together for maybe 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah,
Just talking. Did we even get into the alien stuff? I don't think
we didn't.
did.
We didn't, but we could.
We should
We
have. Could. We still could.
Heard there's a few Anunnaki fans out there that we've piqued their interest a little bit, so that was good to hear. But dude, I'm just like, this one felt different today, and I don't know why. I don't know why it felt different. Just playing with it like all day, couldn't kind of put it down. The other one that I saw, I don't know if you had that one pulled up and I missed it. Let me stop sharing for a second.
Which one?
The guy that was building profiles, he was building JSON profiles off of, like, he was taking all the Prime energy drink images and throwing them into ChatGPT and saying build a JSON profile off of this. Like, it's so helpful in so many different ways.
You sent it to me, but I don't think I have it saved here.
It's just a really smart use.
Yeah.
Like, this is why everyone who has their own skills in some way, shape, or form, as soon as you can get a little like access to something that helps like this, someone was like, "Oh, UX UI designers are cooked." I'm like, "No, they're in a great place right now." Like,
Dude,
they're way ahead?
Have you seen this one?
Which one?
I
is
was
that?
loving this. People are taking pictures from the Accidental Renaissance subreddit and are turning them into actual Renaissance paintings. And I've dude,
Reddit is the best.
Yeah, and it's just like, yo, this Renaissance painting thing is hilarious,
Oh my god,
right? Like, it's so good.
Neo.
Where the other one? Like, bro.
Oh, that's genius.
Pretty amazing.
But like,
actually.
it just blended ControlNet and LoRa's and like everything into
Forceful.
one thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how it happened, but you know what? The other thing is, this is my theory, right? How much like did they pump Sora to marketing wise to generate hype? And then how sort of like sheepishly did this thing get released? And now it's blown up. I don't think they had any idea.
Yeah.
I don't think they had any idea how much people were going to like it, how viral it was going to go.
Yep.
They were expecting this with Sora, and they didn't get it.
That's
You know,
right.
like-
I think because like just in general, video is just it's just a much more niche thing than image. Like
Sora's not easy. So-
it's not easy.
No.
And like even this isn't easy, but it's access. People are already using ChatGPT in tool, and you just are there already. So the fact that you can just follow those motions that are already in place and just do this also makes it 10 times easier. Like, this was one thing that I was telling you about too, right? Like
layering the text, right?
Like, this is something you'd have to do in Photoshop before. And like, again, I don't know how it works with, spacing the letters and blah, blah, blah. Like, I did try it with different typefaces though. And it seemed to pick up the ones that I was using. That was only like, I've only got a handful of examples there, but I'm just like, okay, most of the time you want a specific font. So if you've got a specific font in mind, can it actually do that? Right. And then then it gets into just like, okay, well then, man, I probably want to do this in Photoshop because like I want different spacing in the lettering. Maybe I want to do something different. Like that's where the limitations sort of come into place. But it's still very cool that if you've got something pretty final that you could just drop that in without having to know how to do it. That said, doing that in Photoshop is also not that hard. And if you didn't know how to do it, you could just ask ChatGPT to give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it, right? So like now there's just so many different ways, and my head spinning of like, what's the new workflow? What's
Yeah.
the new optimal workflow? Because the work, it's just all changed now. But
So that T in the nightscape right there, that would be the pain in the ass in Photoshop, because of the way the satellite
the
is
T
so
would
intricate,
be, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like all those little those little spires and those little metal things. Like I would just like give up. I'd be like, I'm not doing this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like extend the image upward and like just layer in maybe just on the top of it because I'm not.
Yeah, or just make the satellite just right here. So,
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
then
Like,
it's,
I'm not doing that.
yeah, I agree. Totally.
That's how I used to make my design decisions. Like I'm not going that far. Every designer listening to this is like, dude, you're so lazy. Like,
Oh my God,
just don't
bro.
want to do it.
By the way, remember when you were telling me about the Fat Fella season when we were together?
Dude, it's so good.
So I had seen one or two before you talked to me about it, but I didn't know who did it.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't really see it be talked about like a lot. Now, like I'm just getting it over and over in my feed. So like this Bert Kreischer talking to Shaq about it. And Shaq, I don't
It's
know that
so
Shaq
good.
had seen it, but he's like pulling it up for him, and he's like showing him the one in Dubai. Let me see if they actually show. They don't show it, but it's funny like seeing that reaction, and that's good. If you guys don't know what we're talking about right now, which maybe
Go
you
look up
probably
Fat
know.
Fella season.
Fat Fella season, great use. Great
Fat
use.
Fella season. Also, if you're listening by the 1% chance, work is awesome. It makes me laugh every single day. I crack up at every single one of these videos. It's so good, dude. I mean, you can't. I don't know if we can even put it up here because we might get
We might
banned.
We might.
if it has subtitles. 'Cause-
Yeah. Let's
yeah.
bounce out.
Oh,
of it.
there you go.
Go check it out for yourself. All right. Really cool stuff. Really funny stuff, actually.
Hilarious.
It's just like we're very well done. It's like a perfect comedic example.
This was one of my favorites, the Severance one, right down
The
here.
Severance one.
I thought
yeah.
that was perfect.
Can you make this in a McDonald's ad? Boom. Right. Again, like super cool. It's just
That's
like, well, McDonald's is,
smart.
unless you're working for McDonald's, and even then, there's still so much refinement that has to take place. So it's not like you could immediately apply this, but it's still super cool that this has a social place in social communication, right?
Yeah.
And sort of like that more like casual conversation that takes place in social media, right? Like that, those social channels, like that, you can do stuff like this. It's pretty neat, man. It is pretty neat because we've never seen anything like this.
No. And Sam Altman said the response to this has been, I think, quote unquote, biblical, and they're trying to catch up, which leads me to think again they did not think it was going to go this way. This one was great.
I like this. This
good.
was a very good
Yeah.
example. Yeah. Use this cosmetic as a reference. Create a homepage. Keep the same layout, fonts, clean style. Replace skincare content with high quality images of bread and pastries. Include a hero section, brand mission. So this is good, right? Like this is like maybe an alternative if you're going to keep exactly the same wireframe or structure, and then if you're not, really like your idea that you came up with of providing the wireframe itself, which is super smart. But this turned out really good. Like now, when
Very
you
good.
zoom into some of this stuff, right? Like this dude's face is going to be jacked, I'm sure. But and like this looks weird. Still, this is awesome. it's
great.
It's super cool. It's like, dang, to be able to like just one shot that into something like that is insane.
So here's another little tidbit. Someone asked me today what the base resolution is on the outputs, and I was like,
Yeah.
"That's a great question." So I asked ChatGPT, "I'm like, can you
What is it?
upscale?" So it can upscale. It can upscale
What?
2x or 4x,
Shut your
and
mouth.
it can either sharpen or denoise depending on what you ask for. So
No way.
yes, and I asked it straight up. I was just like, "Let me see if I can find the message. I'll bring it up," because I was
Oh,
like,
bring that up.
it's like, "Can
But
you?"
while we're talking
upscale?
about use case, this is also a super cool use case to extract an existing item or object out of a thumbnail or an image,
Yep.
and put it into a PNG format. What?
I love
What?
that's super useful because then you can just build in layers like I'm in Photoshop.
This is kind of cool too. Like if you're just like
Yeah,
a brand, a low, like you're just doing something really grassroots, or maybe you've got just something that isn't normally shot in a studio, even.
yeah.
Right? To be able to just put that into that space immediately and instantly, pretty crazy.
Here, let me pull this up real quick. Stay on that page though, because we got to. I think going through this is good. Hold on, let me share my screen. Here's the exact response. If I can zoom in here, can you upscale images? Yes. Just drop in the images you want upscaled and let me know target resolution or size, or 2x, 4x, or specific dimensions. If you want it sharpened, denoised, or kept soft, format, JPEG, PNG, etc. I'll handle the rest.
Yo, can we run this experiment while we're doing this?
I mean, probably. Let's see.
I'm
upscaled
super
4x.
interested in that. Yeah, I'm super interested in that.
I don't know what it just said. Code interpreter session expired. Let's restart this. See if that no? Huh. Maybe not. All right, let's just drop something in. Let's see.
I'm gonna do one simultaneously too. Like I'm so curious about this.
Let's see. Where's the one I just did? Let's do this.
Yeah. I could take this, drop this in.
What do we have here? I think this image I dropped in is already upscaled, so let's see if it does it anyway.
So if you're just listening to audio and the par chance, which I mean, I wouldn't recommend. Definitely follow us on video. We try to make this visual, if possible. But we're each running different images right now. We're testing this upscale thing. So just hang with us here. We're gonna sort of run through this and just kind of see what's possible here.
It definitely upscaled it.
Yeah?
I'm at where are my pick? No. Where is my Why is it not giving me the pixels? Oh, there it is. I'm just totally missing it. 2730 by 4096. So, yes, we did 2x upscale on that. I guess I could 4x. It didn't really sharpen it like I asked, but decent enough. Actually, it did sharpen it a little bit. I got way more sort of like noise in there. Not bad. I'll take it. I wonder if I have a... Do you have... What image did you do? Did you do a fuzzy image?
Well, that's the thing I'm playing with right now. I took an upscaled image from Midjourney. And looks to be okay. 2160.
What do we got?
I mean, it didn't quite. Well, I don't know. So for mine, I took an existing upscaled image from Midjourney, and I just said put this in 4K. So because Midjourney doesn't do 4K, but they will do so. I mean, it did make the file size bigger.
I think it's like Runway's for like 4K upscaler, where it doesn't necessarily creatively detail; it just upscales.
Yeah, I'm gonna try the non-upscaled version to 4K.
This is now we're just going into idea session here. I got to start taking notes on things I want to try.
Might as well. But wow. Didn't know that. So I think that's a whole avenue to explore, right? Like individual, like post-processing.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's what it was with that one image where I was like, cut the saturation, add the contrast, add the texture, and it just
True.
did it. And
But I
was
mean,
great.
I wouldn't think it in sense of like sharpening and file size, though.
It can do anything that can code, right? So like when you think about it, it's all code, which is why I'm like, can I create like custom presets in there now without them even having that option? I probably can. Like if I could I give it a Midjourney mood board and then being like, here's all my here's like the outputs from my mood board, and so like this is a style I want you to apply now. Like basically here's a JSON. Like this is what I'm talking about, that JSON extraction shit.
Yeah.
Like when you can actually put a bunch of images in here and like extract a core profile from this. Like it basically just coded a mood board or a style code and then like apply this style now to my whatever image in here. So like in the on the fly here we're like reverse engineering stuff, which I think is probably pretty possible now. Anything that you can ask for, anything you can get in JSON, which now I'm gonna have to try that. Because, I mean, that would be awesome if it's like, here's my personalized code for my images now in ChatGPT. Because,
Dude, what?
yeah, right. I mean, it's interesting because like this is the thing with it, which is what gets me so excited about it. It's unlimited at this moment. I mean,
Right.
limited in what it can do. But I was just like, someone the other day, I'm like, can we just create a full storyboard with it? Like just one prompt. Can it do like a one prompt storyboard? Can it get like 16 frames? It probably can. Like it can get probably somewhere fairly close, like do the sketch. Like here's a sketch and then go and, put that into Magnific or something and do, what's it called? Structure reference on it. And then you probably have, or, probably does it better in ChatGPT. I don't know. But there's so many creative uses for this. I think it's the best social. If there was a tool that was ever made for organic social, this is it. Like this is the one. Like, you can do
I
so
think
much.
that's there we go. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of what we've kind of been alluding to.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to like package that. Yeah, I agree, man. Here is let's see if we can actually see it. I mean, for you guys that are watching this, I doubt this is going to be something you're going to be able to tell the difference. This, though, is not upscaled in Midjourney, upscaled. So, like, if we get, can I actually... Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lines
You
look
can-
a little
yeah.
cleaner.
Yep. You can see the difference. And the file size is twice as big. So,
All right.
yeah, 4K,
Okay.
upscaler, and you don't have to
Now-
burn hours.
I like this is just it's just fun again, like I like having like these sort of endless approaches to things, and this is going to be like another treasure hunt. Like this is probably going to be, if everyone is following on Twitter, or this was almost like an emergency podcast, like we had to do one.
Yeah, it was.
'Cause-
It really was.
It's like, it's something to use in addition to. I used it the other day with like I just gave it a Midjourney image and said change it to this style, and it was just like, okay, great, bang, like applied the style to it right away. And I think Midjourney is going to be like like I said, it's going to be like the sandbox to the professional tool that people use. I mean, like I think it's just like the best place to go play and maneuver and iterate and create. I don't think you can get anything as nearly explosive in ChatGPT as you can in Midjourney, but I think it can do clean. I think it can do minimalist.
Yeah.
I think it can do like, less complex, which is what, professionals
Yeah.
need. Like they don't need, exploding robotic faces like I like and stuff like that.
Well, I think okay. So I mean, there's a lot here, and I think
Yeah.
what this, just thinking ahead, Roy, like we're probably the next two episodes, this one and the next one, are probably going to be this interesting split of like talking about this and also talking about Midjourney V7.
Yeah.
So maybe we do a little polite segue into V7 because here we are on the doorstep. Now you've got this stuff that just launched, kind of shaking things up, right? From an outsider's perspective, or somebody that's not using Midjourney very heavily, like this could seem like, oh, like I wonder, did this just replace this, right? Or whatever. But like, what are we really, really pumped about for V7 with Midjourney? I think we should at least answer that question.
Can you pull up David's tweet, by the way, so that everyone knows why we think it's coming out probably when this releases today or tomorrow? I think there was a tipping point last week. I think Midjourney finally got the idea that there's someone on their heels and probably going to pass them soon. You know, like from a user standpoint, and like they're just not they spent a long time at the top of the mountain. No one could challenge, my opinion, in terms of aesthetic. And now you have these players coming in left and right from 2 weeks. It's just like Gemini, Reve, ChatGPT, Ideogram dropped a new model. You got all these people coming in. Minimax dropped a new model.
Yeah.
All right. So
wait, I didn't even know Minimax dropped a new model. Are you talking about the camera?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, they have an image generator now on Minimax.
Oh no, so I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
So if you go back up to David's this tweet where go up, that one with the pasted text, that he said excited for next week, and we're like, it's got to be happening this day. It's some sort of profound quote about just being down and kicked or whatever and getting back. I don't know what it is. It was just something that's like, yeah, it feels like we've been getting dragged through the mud. Because apparently on office hours last week, that's where I was getting most of my texts from, was people were like, are you on office hours? I was like, no.
Oh, interesting.
And they were like, David sounded kind of like he's not too happy right now. So
I didn't catch. How much of it did I catch? I didn't catch much, but what I did catch was the Monday thing, right? It was just like, yeah, we're getting very close. It looks like it's Monday, like that's what we're prepping for. I think that was sort of like I'm paraphrasing, but that was pretty much what he said. Like, we're prepping for Monday. And so I'm expecting it to drop tomorrow.
Did you get a chance to rank?
I did rank a few just on mobile, so I only got like maybe 100 in,
Did you notice anything?
No, because, the way that they basically described it in the announcement was this, and again, I'm like, in my mind, I'm trying to separate, is this going to affect my ranking profile if I do, if I go through these, or is this strictly just ranking for this?
Yeah.
So I was like trying to think of that. I still don't know the answer to that, but I was like, okay, I want to like help or participate in this sense. So I did go through all the images were shit, but it did say that in the announcement. It said the images are not going to be good. Don't worry about that. We're just trying to figure out which ones you prefer out of the two. You can still skip, right? They said all the same things, but like there still wasn't the clarity of like, is this going to affect my ranking profile, my global profile? Because if that's the case, But at the same time, I've ranked 18,000, so maybe it's not going to affect it that much.
I think you're good, man.
I might be good.
I think you're number one in the world.
No. But like, I don't know. So, I think it is important for us to talk about what to expect with V7 right out of the gate. Because I feel like there's going to be a little bit of the sense of disappointment right out of the gate. Because now you've got this ChatGPT
not
thing.
Coming at a great time.
Yeah. So we were already fiending for this update for a long time. We've been talking about V7 forever. Cue the Sandlot.
Forever.
But like we have. And then, unless you're listening to office hours, you probably don't know kind of like the context they've given of like, hey, we're going to roll this out, but like probably not everything is going to come right away. Like there's going to certain features will drip, certain updates will drip, but there are some exciting things that have been talked about, right? Like the batch thing is kind of interesting. They also mentioned having a 4K upscaler. That was interesting, right? Like stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess like I'm not overly hyped, but I'm hyped. You know what I mean?
I think if I'm reading the office notes differently because I didn't get to listen, I feel like I'm reading something different though than the last couple times. every time I even read the office notes, they all still feel ambiguous, right?
Yeah.
Like
Tell me
might
what
be
you
this, might be then. I read these this week, and it was like upscaler will be handled. In painting will be faster. It was like very direct. It felt like someone might have had a change of heart over there and was kind of like, let's get this thing going. Damn it. Like I felt like the notes were it could have just been the way they got summarized, but it felt like it was way more direct. Like, all right, we have to start. We can't stop like vibe managing over. We can't vibe manage over here. It's got to be like we got to hit deliverables and we have to do it now. Because if we don't, look, no one's going to stop. The people who love Midjourney, not going anywhere. But it is just like the fringe 20-30% that are there because it can do what they need it to do and not because they love it, right? Or maybe there's more than that.
Yeah.
That goes away. That goes to the highest bidder, which is the newest, hottest tool that can do exactly what they need it for, right? So, like there is, the other thing that was interesting too is that I saw David mention saying API is coming, which I'd never.
What? Wait, what?
It was on a tweet. He tweeted it at someone replied on someone else's. I wish I screenshotted it, but he said API is coming, and I was like, okay. I think they might have mentioned that on a previous office hours that they might API like version 6 and not version 7, so it'll be like a softer model for the API, which is, I mean, still that'd be awesome for version 6 to be out there, but I'd have to find. It might be in his replies. Because he was there. It is. Oh no. Did you just pull out like a perfectly queried search in Twitter that I didn't know you could do?
Yeah, maybe.
Little. Wow. Okay. I didn't
Well, I
even know
mean,
you could search
all
like
I
that.
did was go to him, and there's search here, so you can search within
What
his
the-
or search within his tweets, right? But then also, did you know
Why
about?
do you have all like the epic search hacks here? I didn't even know you could push that stupid button.
I kind of am the search hack guy. I don't know what's up with that, but what was I going to show you too? Like I could type in. I don't know, let's just type in Rory Flynn here. Do you know about the advanced search?
No.
What? Come on,
What?
bro. Okay, so watch this.
I don't. Use
I could
any
go
of this
in.
stuff.
Okay, well, this may not work well for your name, but let's just type in like Midjourney. Shit, actually. So Midjourney, you could use all of these words. So it's kind of like that Google setup.
Yeah.
And then you can go and sort by engagement, right? So it's like minimum number of likes. So like, let's just say this got like 1,000 likes, mentions Midjourney, and you can set dates, blah blah blah, search. So now like this is
How you
have Tweet Hunter or whatever, but like
Yeah.
you could find like best performing posts in a particular keyword, right? Like
Now, why did I not know? Is that new or is that old? And I just missed it.
I mean, it's been around for a while. Damn, I saw this and I like instantly thought of you with the DJ thing. At first.
That was a good one. I remember seeing that one. This is the one with the rave in Westeros or something, right?
Yeah, I never saw that one. That's funny. Yeah. So anyway, advanced search, people.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Didn't even know that. But I know for a fact I saw it there because maybe I did save it. I'm going to save the tweet as something that's like, yeah, that's coming. So
Oh, here you go though. Right, going back to you mentioned like it's coming. Plans for aggressive,
right.
high quality for X upscaler. Aggressive.
Significant speed targeted for imprinting post training. Like
Aggressive?
see what I mean? Like the change in tone where it's like might work on this, might work on that, could be now, could be then.
Here you go too, right? You pointed out the smart select,
Yeah.
right? And they did. For those of you that don't know, I mean, I don't know that we've talked about it, Rory.
Have we?
But there is that smart select option now in full editor, right?
Yes.
So in painting, you can actually select the object. I don't know. Maybe this is going too far off course. But if we go into edit, yeah, I mean, I have to bring something up. But if you go into full editor, you now have the ability to smart select. Right? Like, let's just take any image here. And it's right here.
Yep.
So now, right? Actually, to be honest, I don't know that
you just click. You have to click. Yeah, and it'll select.
I haven't even done it yet.
Yeah.
But you can, yeah. So now you got an actual object, smart select.
And you have to push either remove or isolate. So if you want to change that, this is where it gets a little bit, it took me like a second.
Tell me, because I haven't used it, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this have not.
If you hit remove, go over to the left-hand side, hit remove. There. Now you in-paint the face. If you go back and you do, or do undo, and then you hit isolate, it'll just keep the face. It paints everything around.
So it's like that. It's like that mask in Photoshop. Like,
yes. It's very, very Photoshop friendly. They keep going down the right path with that stuff on the editor. You know, like
this is low key, pretty big actually.
Yeah.
Why is this not in the regular editor? Would be my question.
Well, apparently they're going to merge it. Is that what that's what it said on Office Hours, right?
I think that is what it said actually. Yeah, let's go back to that for a second. I didn't want to get too far off this because there are, to your point, I think there are some really interesting updates here.
Yeah. It says, where was that?
That was right here.
Real-time batch and service development, real-time interface, likely dependent on optimized. And then because that was, again, when I was reading it, I know they're summarizing their notes and they're using either Claude or whatnot, but the tone is different. It's just a different tone.
Yeah.
And then you see how, because they were just like, I don't know if we're going to release the whole model, if we're going to release a fast model first, if we're going to do a slow model first.
Planned alpha next week, right? So this was on the 26th.
And then default activation 1 month time. Like it sounds like someone cracked the whip a little bit. It was like, let's go. We got to make this stuff happen. Because I think they had someone leave the other week too. I saw one of their employees left and went to either Cursor or something like that.
Oh wow, didn't see that.
Yeah.
Look at this, Rory. This is interesting too.
Noticeable over V6, larger improvement from V5 to V6, but less dramatic. Okay. So
bigger improvement than V5 to V6.
Remember when we didn't think it was that big in the beginning? It was just because we weren't going deep enough. And then the other thing that I will say that I noticed here, off track, back to the rating party. I noticed a few things. Smush face looks like it's gone.
Ooh.
There was a lot of images with a lot of people in it, and all the people had definitive faces.
Oh,
that's number one.
Oh.
I saw a lot of that, which in photorealism, like those types of images, I saw that. I saw a lot less saturated skin tone, so I saw a lot more like V5 looking images. I'm not taking like the images themselves. I'm taking like the sort of patterns that I noticed.
Yeah.
That like, how V5 was darker? Like it had like a darker aesthetic. It wasn't like super bright. It was kind of.
But you know what? Also, a lot of the images in general are like slightly underexposed, which I don't personally mind.
No,
but somebody pointed that out to me, and I guess like I've just been looking at this stuff so long, and Midjourney has been like that default aesthetic in my head that I actually didn't notice it for a long time. And it was just kind of weird, but it's like, I think you're right actually. Like it's kind of like underexposed by a stop or two, really like 2 stops underexposed.
Is that a lot in like?
I mean, like
intentionally or.
I don't know. Like, so for me, like if I'm doing some photography, which I actually took my camera to this event that I did when I was in New York just to shoot, I always underexpose a little bit. And the reason for that is like sometimes you might catch a light that then can be blown out. It's called like a blown out exposure, and you can't fix that in post. Like where something is just like off the chart on exposure and you can't course correct it. So that's number one. But also like if you underexpose too, you have more tools to to manipulate the image overall because things aren't like just as bright out of the box
Bleached.
already.
Yeah.
So it's great for like pulling in either direction, really. And that's why I always usually underexpose by like a stop usually. But
It makes sense because, like, you know, anytime you see overcast, like overcast to me always produces such a better look.
yeah,
because things
100%.
are defined,
It's diffused.
And
Yep.
Yeah.
It's diffused. It's consistent usually.
Yeah.
Whereas the sun, you know, like that harsh exposure can really like shake things up.
It paints like, you know, you bleach things out that you can't restore, right? I guess
Yep,
that's
exactly.
the idea of underexposure.
That's exactly
Okay,
right.
that makes sense
Yep.
now. All right, didn't know I was doing that on purpose, but
Yep, you're doing it on purpose, which says a lot about you. Actually, that's pretty good, brother.
without knowing.
No, I mean, I learned that one the hard way. That's like one of those things that I think when you start doing
Real- with, like,
photography,
real
you
analog
run
film,
into
right?
you just run into it.
That's
I've
like a thing
ruined
with
so
analog
many-
film, where you couldn't if that would screw up the whole thing, right? You would get nothing if you.
I've
like,
ruined
totally
great
overexposed.
photos over
Yeah.
it, and so it's just like, you know, it's one of those like painful lessons that you learn and you never forget.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about it in that sense as to why that would make sense to train a model like that too. And you know, the other thing we should say here is I don't know shit about training an AI image model. I know nothing about what goes into that.
Neither do I. I would love to know. Why can't they share that? I mean,
don't
like
know.
some of it they could share. I'm sure
feel it's
some of it
really
they
complex.
can't, right? Because it's different, probably dependent on the company, but there probably is a baseline standard of a procedure that every, like at least a part of it, that every company does.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
Interested to know that.
because if you think about it, like something like Reve came out relatively recently, right? And then it's like, oh wait, the image quality is really good. It's kind of to me how like DeepSeek is, how like DeepSeek has like seen or you know, basically been able to like see all the code that's been produced by everything else, and then it's easy to build a real. To me, it would be much easier to innovate on an already built model that's already out there to then like get superior results because you didn't have to start from the ground floor. You know, you started from like 5 steps into the race, and then
Yeah.
you're like, okay,
Yeah.
now I can do something. I can do it for cheaper, yes, because you know all the infrastructure and the architecture. So I'm thinking something like Reve probably comes in later in the game, has seen all the architecture, has seen sort of all the white papers, how everything's built, and it's like, yeah, we can get really good image quality right out the gate. And then like I don't know what it takes to do something like Midjourney where how many parameters, how many features, how many different things on the website does it have to like sort of link to and connect with? It's not just like type an image and do it. It's like there's
There
so
you
much
go.
that goes into it.
Because yeah, that's true too, right? Like
Right.
there are advantages to being the first mover, also advantages to being second, third, right?
Yeah.
And knowing how to like play those positions strategically is important. I have heard of Reve. Like obviously I've been seeing Reve. I haven't played with it yet. They did spell turbo wrong here though.
Is that the right Reve? Why does
it?
this look different than mine? Yeah,
know.
yours looks totally different. Is it
This is different?
Reve.art?
ReveAI.art.
Oh, it's one of those wrapper.
Oh, look at that.
Dude, there's one that got me the other day that was open. It was like
Oh, wait, here we go.
OpenAI.ChatGPT or something. And it was like a total wrapper for.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Because there's some pretty good stuff on there. I mean, I was pretty impressed with what it could do.
Oh, jeez. Come on. All right. I'll do
You
this
want me to
later.
pull it up? I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
So here is. So they didn't have any of this when I was getting after it on the. They didn't have Explorer or anything like that. But to me, fashion, really good. Other than that, I found it to be like it still has like some good realism, right? Like it misses on the tattoos here. Has some really decent like realistic style stuff when I was doing some sunglasses like this stuff.
Rory, don't you think, man, at this point, like if you're a Reve or anybody that's going to be competing in this space, you either have to be super niche or you have to just be better at 90% of another thing to get
Yeah.
the adoption. Because like if it's just one or two things or even a handful of things, that's not enough to shake up a workflow, because it's like you might have a use case or two, but like you'd really have to be experimenting enough, which goes into a whole nother avenue, right? To then know and really build up that habit to be like, okay, I'm going to use Reve for this specific use case. I know for this specific use case, I'm going to use Reve. But it's either going to be super niche or it's got to be the king. You know what I mean? At this point.
Yeah.
And it can't really be anything in the middle. Unless it's just the long race, the long game that they're playing, right? Like, I don't know. I'm just like, just as my unfiltered thoughts on that. We didn't even know we were getting in Reve, but if I'm building something, I'm either coming for a niche or I'm coming for the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
Because like what I've seen with these other tools, right? Like even, let me think, like Flux maybe is a good example. Maybe Frames. I mean, Frames already had video. Like Runway already had video. But like, I'm not going to use Frames instead of Midjourney unless it's got the whole thing to Midjourney, right? Because it's like, oh, I can't edit in there. I can't very subtle. Can't very strong. You know, like can't do all these little, you know, finesse techniques that really matter when you're trying to go from start to finish.
Totally. And that's where I think like this one, you know, from the standpoint of what it's good at, like I'm noticing that like it's really much better at fashion. Like this one, even off the gate, like you see some of what I like about it and some of the realism here is it has things like the blemishes, right? Like it has the freckles, not the like overdone freckles, but it has like some beard stubble. Like he has uneven hair, his hair parts in waves. Like he has sort of like could be construed as a unibrow if that's going on behind it. So,
yeah,
you know, like there's some good sort of realness factor to it, which you can see it probably gets built on. This is where I was having the most fun with.
Oh, love those, bro.
It's super clean.
Yeah.
Like, it can do minimalism and stuff like this, like super clean.
So, like, what were your, you know, look, like, I guess what I'm curious about, like, with something like this, your approach, are you trying to prompt similar, like, what's your first move? Are you then taking a prompt that you would have done in Midjourney, copy and paste, seeing how it interprets it first, or are you just kind of like typing something from a whim?
So what I did was in Midjourney, some of the images I created when I was just in like a little prompting rabbit hole, I just took those, threw it into Describe, so I didn't have to think about a prompt.
Yeah,
and then threw it in here. I just copied the Describe prompt, and was like, all right, let's just roll with it. And then because when you put it in here, it changes, right? So it has an enhanced version, which actually makes the prompts pretty decent. So like if you go to the edit prompt here, like this shows you what it came up with, and then you can shift certain elements, which is decent, right? Like you can do, or other, you can glossy flashback into matte gray paint. It actually has some decent like examples, so then you can sort of vary on this like a remix in your edit prompt. But you can turn this off, but I've kind of been seeing it get some better results. Like it, because this one I ran with just like a regular prompt without the results, without the enhance on. And I was like, all right, it didn't get me exactly what I wanted. This looks like when I jack up, you know, a Midjourney image here and there. But this was when I was running it with the enhance on, and I was getting stuff like this, which I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like this is...
Bro, I love those. Haven't seen any of this. Looks great.
These were good. I was like, this one, you know, like I could screw with these compositions and the way that they put these things together. And you know, a little magnific upscale here gonna go a long way.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I was really digging some of this stuff that I was able to produce like right off the bat. Then I was trying to get
here we go.
Trump and Kim Jong-un
playing
basketball in like what's it called? Which now I can probably do in ChatGPT, like the cover, like the what's it called? White Men Can't Jump.
I was gonna say it's funny that I picked that up. I was like,
but yeah, I was just overall kind of impressed with some of the realism and the detailing in this. It didn't hit on some of the stuff that I was doing on Midjourney, like some of the car stuff. Wasn't really getting there with the Mario stuff and Luigi stuff I was doing. But It was just like this. Like I think this is like it's where it wins. Like clean fashion, luxury aesthetic. I think it's going to win there. It just
I mean, I think that's cool. I mean, that stuff speaks to me too, and that's got a place, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but
dope,
hey,
man.
You never know. I just thought it was an interesting another sort. This is the first one in a while that I saw like a little creative spark.
Sure.
You know, like
Yeah.
like ideogram is good. Like I got access to that one before it dropped, and I went on, and it's just like so coherent and so clean that there's no like it's too sterile. Like it's not like that was my feedback. I'm just like it's too like there's no risk. Like it doesn't take any risk, which I don't. You know, Midjourney is all risk. That's why it's great. Midjourney is full send on every prompt.
Dude, it really is though, right?
Yeah. And you never know what you're going to get, which is great. But then there's there's the ones that it just feels like you have to write a paragraph and like really like go in a weird direction to get anything that makes it look explosive. But I think I'm excited. I'm excited V7's coming. I think if omnireference works, if that is like the pillar piece, I think we're all going to be very happy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is going to be a lot of this will be sort of overlooked because that's what everyone wants. They want what ChatGPT is doing right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So
and this feels like a more, again, like the one big hang up, just to wrap this kind of up, is that piece about just trying to change a certain element and then ChatGPT changing other parts of the element. That's the difference, right? It's like, if both can do consistent characters, I'm going to take it over to Midjourney.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to change everything. I just want to change isolated parts of that process.
I would not expect Midjourney to compete on text though. That's been mentioned a number of times.
I don't either. Like, I think I thought you placed it perfectly in the sense of, if nothing else, like strip everything else out. ChatGPT, what they just launched, great thing for social. I think it's another way to communicate things visually, which I think social kind of needed.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do outside of write text, provide an image that you've created, do a video, or drop a meme or a GIF? That was kind of like it. That was kind of like the tool belt. Now this is like a whole new tool belt right here.
Yeah, I dig it. I've been enjoying social media again too, because it's just everything is something random that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah,
except for Studio Ghibli. I didn't. I think I expect that now.
I think that dude, just like had a heart attack. If he's still, I think he's still alive. If not, he's rolling in his grave. But
unless he just like reverse engineered, like reverse psychologied us, and just had the best marketing campaign in the history of marketing.
Yeah, he was secretly working, in tandem. Possible.
Man.
Well, hey, brother, it was. I was excited to do this one. Felt good to catch up.
Glad we got it in.
Glad we got to see each other last week. And yeah, guys, we're gonna get back together this week too, because V7's dropping. We got to go into that emergency pod there. So let's see what happens, man. Get some rest tonight. It's kind of like adult Christmas.
It is kind of like adult Christmas. But the last thing I will leave everyone with here, if anyone is doing a presentation in front of a large number of people, do not use Figma as your presentation software. That it will not work.
Oh no.
And if you're listening, help. Like, please.
Dude.
Why do you have a slide deck presentation software that doesn't work with clickers or can be downloaded in any way, shape, or form outside of the cloud or outside of a web-based platform? Or I can't even remember the words right now because it's late. Because it has to be open with Wi-Fi. So it was a whole situation. 10 minutes before I went on in front of 2,000 people, my deck did not work.
I feel like now you've seen everything, though.
Dude.
I mean, like you're only getting more and more prepared for curveballs to be thrown your way last minute at this point. But
that one was pretty next level. Me downloading it to a PDF and swiping it slide for slide into a keynote. No notes, all vibes up there. Just videos didn't work. Things were out of place. It was just like
Unbelievable.
no one cared, but I was just like ripping through
Yeah.
it. I was like,
no one else knew except for you either. So, well, hey,
whatever.
man,
Like and subscribe, damn it.
do it. Just do it. And
If
we'll
you
see
made
you
it
guys.
here, if you made it this long, all it is one little tap. Just one little tap.
Hey, anybody
Comment.
listen this long and you haven't?
Yeah. Come on.
Come on.
Just a little bit. Just a little
Anyway,
just a little tap.
We're also not desperate, so we're good. But we love you guys. We're gonna catch up on V7 here shortly. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining us.
Later.